Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Today I want to do what I said I was going to do yesterday. I said that today I would pick up on Roe v. Wade. I would address why the Democrats are so obsessed with Roe v. Wade. Now, of course, it's because of their belief in abortion practically on demand. That's one aspect of it, of course, but there is another unspoken motive behind their obsession. The reason that we have these terrible fights over Supreme Court nominations, because Scalia was, as I said before, almost unanimously, if not unanimously, I think it was 99-0, confirmed for the Supreme Court. Conservative justice, nominee at the time, Catholic, 9 kids, personally opposed to abortion, I am sure, and decades after the passage of Roe v. Wade, but he sailed through his confirmation. It's obviously going to be much different from Amy Coney Barrett. There is something going on here, because as much as I think Roe v. Wade is unconstitutional, I have my doubts whether a Supreme Court would overturn it today, would completely reverse it. That gets me to the other reason, which is rooted in court doctrine, a legal doctrine, which I'm sure you're familiar with, but I'm going to go through it just in case somebody isn't. Stare decisis. Stare decisis is Latin for, I'm going to give you the literal translation here, to stand by that which was decided. All that means is respecting precedent, that you have to have a stable legal system. You can't have a court ruling one way and then another court ruling a different way, reversing the earlier decision, and then a court after the first two reinstating the decision of the first court. You have to remember that when Obama came into office, he was promising to fundamentally transform the country. Maybe I'm digressing a little bit because I'm going to be talking about Hillary Clinton just for a second. But Obama was supposed to fundamentally transform the country into a socialist paradise, or at least a socialist-like, maybe a European welfare state. Let's say it that way, European welfare state. He was not able to accomplish that. He did get part way along the path with Obamacare. Hillary Clinton was supposed to complete the transformation, or at least carry it a long way forward. For instance, getting back to the Supreme Court, imagine if Hillary had won. Trump has appointed he will have appointed 3 Supreme Court justices. He appointed 2. Now we have Amy Coney Barrett. But had he lost, those appointments, those nominations would have been made in the past 2 cases, and would be made with the upcoming confirmation by Hillary Clinton. And you can just imagine the effect that would have had, because the Democrats, in their heart of hearts, they know that America is a center-right country and that they cannot impose their policy preferences through the ballot box. They rely on the courts and ultimately the Supreme Court to give them what they want. And the reason they can do this, or the reason they focus so much on the Supreme Court, is because of this concept of stare decisis. The doctrine that once a decision is made, then it has to be respected. One very good example I could give you is the Miranda warning that the police give you when they arrest you. Hopefully they don't arrest you, but if they do, they would say you have the right to remain silent, the right to an attorney, anything you say would be used against you. That was a result of the Miranda decision by the Supreme Court. Before that decision, the police did not have to do that. If they arrested somebody and the person confessed on the spot, that he confessed, and the confession could be used, because the assumption was that the Constitution is there, it's in writing, anybody can read it. If you don't know the law, if you don't know what your right is, then it's your problem. The Supreme Court at that time, a liberal Supreme Court, ruled that the police were obligated to warn people, to tell them what their rights were. This went forward, forward, forward. Then it got challenged in a Rehnquist court when Rehnquist was the Chief Justice. And the decision, I believe it was 5-4, and Rehnquist voted, even though he was a conservative, a constructionist, he voted to keep the Miranda warning in place because he said that it had been on the books for decades and the police had learned to live with it, so he was going to let it stay. And that is stare decisis. In other words, he was going to respect that earlier decision by an earlier Supreme Court, even though he believed the decision, he clearly believed the decision to be wrong. Now we get to Roe v. Wade, because Roe v. Wade, well, we talk about stare decisis. Roe v. Wade overruled, it took precedence over the laws in the 50 states, some of those laws dating back literally centuries. But the Supreme Court was willing to overturn that long-time precedent. But now you have liberals saying that the Supreme Court cannot reverse Roe v. Wade because of stare decisis, because it has been the law of the land for about half a century, since 1973, even though that court, the Roe v. Wade court, overturned precedents at least 3 times that long. But you see what they are about. Obama is not, or was not, the first president, Democratic president, to try to transform the country. This is a continuation. He was supposed to complete a process that had begun long ago, ever since FDR tried to pack the court and he failed, but he managed to scare the court to give into his policy preferences and starting to rule in his favor. What was the saying at the time was, a switch in time saves 9. FDR wanted to add justices. His own Democrats, the conservative Democrats from the South, rebelled against him. He failed, but just a possibility. That's what the Democrats are trying to do today. They are trying to scare the Senate into not confirming Amy Coney Barrett by saying, well, if you do that, we're going to pack the court. And they are going, you can bet on this, use that threat possibly going forward. Anytime, let's say if there's a decision on Obamacare, you'll have Democrats saying, well, if the decision goes the wrong way, then we're going to pack the court and then reverse that decision. They are holding this as a club over our heads. It's not going to work, just like it didn't work in the time that FDR tried to do it. And of course, the point that they always miss, because they live entirely in the present, is that if they do that, then Republicans, when they get control of the Senate again, they could add seats too. And then we'll someday maybe have a 101 seat Supreme Court, maybe even more. But getting back to this stare decisis, that project began a long time ago. And Roosevelt was able eventually to not pack the court, but to create his own majority on the court, because he was in office. He was in office for 4 terms, or for 3 terms, and then just the beginning of 1 term, and then he died. But this process began then, it's been going on, and it's based on, again, this doctrine of stare decisis to our Democratic friends, meaning that they just have to get one thing through of their agenda. Just get one little item through the Supreme Court and then it becomes the law of the land, and then because of stare decisis, it cannot be overturned. It becomes permanent, and then maybe they'll lose the Senate, maybe they'll lose an election, they'll lose the White House, but eventually the time will come when they will have a Senate, and well, they don't even need the Senate and the White House. Sometimes they can just bring a case to a liberal Supreme Court and get a decision that they want, and then it becomes irreversible. That's their belief. So they can be on this long road to transforming the country into a European welfare state, just building a little bit at a time on what they've managed to get through the Supreme Court before. But that narrative, that belief goes out the window if a Supreme Court, a conservative Supreme Court, overturns Roe v. Wade, which is their sacrament, but also probably the most activist Supreme Court decision since Dred Scott. I'm not going to, I hope you know what Dred Scott is. It's from before the Civil War. I won't go into the details, but this was a major activist decision that divided the country, by the way. The country was not so divided before Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade started this whole mess that we're in now that seems to be getting worse. But what distresses our liberal friends the most is that if a Supreme Court does overturn something as major as Roe v. Wade, something that has been on the books for decades and decades, then that tells them, that sends a very clear message that their whole idea, their whole hope to transform the country by building on what has happened before, it goes out the window. It tells them that they can get something, they can get Obamacare validated by a Supreme Court, but it can be reversed. That's what really scares them. That is one of the reasons, that could be the main reason why they are so obsessed with Roe v. Wade, because it is more than the specific issue of Roe v. Wade. It is a demonstration, or it would be a demonstration, that the reinterpretations of the Constitution, literally writing a whole new Constitution, that project can be stopped and reversed. That's it for today. As always, I really appreciate your stopping by and spending time with me. It's really great that you take your time to watch my vlogs. I would really love a thumbs up if you like this video. Share with anybody you think would also like the video. Got any comments? Comment section below the video. Questions, suggestions for future topics. You could subscribe. I love getting subscribers. But most of all, come back and see me again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.